home. 4 squads alive. Tyson and Xset, 2 full squads. Intelligence just with 2 as Z Davis up here on the high ground. This is actually a place on the map that he is very familiar with. He is going to get the frag damage and the knock there on the Trap Lord, and Tyson is hungry for some blood here in the late game. Now they're looking for Xset. Xset says, hey, you've left the high ground. It's ours now, but they're going to run into some of the traps there from the Watson. Let's see what Joey can do here. Is going to be able to get the armor swap. Knee Reaper is down. Goodbye.
And can be an incredibly controlling squad given the opportunity. And last night, I think we got the first opportunity to finally see them mesh going into some of the lobbies.
Yeah, and that's a team, when you look at the actual pedigree of the players there, has a surprising amount of competitive experience, right? Joey was playing at the ALGS Championships a year ago, right? Under team, the Season 2 Team Cheese It, right? They were Esports Arena Red at that event. Got to play at Champs. You look at Z Davis, was playing for Lazarus, got to compete in Pro League for a split. So these are players that are not, fresh faces to the top levels of competition. So I would say the expectations are high for that team, and it is early on in the season, certainly not writing them off at this point, but we definitely are hoping to see continued growth, because I think when this team is playing at its best, they are incredibly difficult to compete with. And of course, we start our first game here of the day on board with Team Tyson. They're over at Landside to kick it off.
I'll tell you what, we should have started with Team Intel, because it seems like they've already found a source of aggression here, taking out Team DZO. And we got the opportunity to check out DZO a multitude of times, and they seem to be that roster that just couldn't catch a break. And it looks like it seems to be the same story as we make our way into Game 1 here. Now, Intel has picked up that first kind of initial 3KP, but you can see there in that feed, once we move over, it looks like Synaptic coming through, finding the drop here onto them as well. And I really hope to see that Intel can potentially survive.
Oh no, big trouble.
That's it.
It's got, before we could even get over there, Intel already wiped out in 18th place. And interestingly enough, this is not what we've seen from Intel so far this season. You'll notice that they are still up in the running for the top of the table here early on. And a lot of those points have come from great early games. Right? They continue the aggression that we saw from them last season. They are more than happy to take fights early on in the game, and they very consistently win them. The thing that has been plaguing them so far this season is the ability to get into the top 5, and specifically to win games. So it's actually very surprising to see them going out this early on in the game. We do see, though, that circle is pulling towards Fragment in the southern side of Epicenter. So this should be a very central zone here, and Xset likely to benefit greatly from that.
Let's take a look, of course, and see what holds in store for us regarding the Xset roster and what they're playing with in terms of their composition here. But typically we see this zone, as you said, finish with a little bit more of an even more centralized Fragment hold, sometimes kind of pairing nicely alongside that bridge there, and then decisively either pulling to one or the other side. But obviously, that is a ways to go here. Speaking of some of those teams, though, we didn't really ever get the opportunity to kind of break down who's been sitting with us going into our open night here on Wednesday. Noticeably, yes, Xset, one of our Pro League squads, is on the map and have been many a times before here across Esports Arena as a whole. So I'm very excited to see them back in Season 5, but also some other entities kind of that worked here last night. RCO notably being one of them. We've seen them a multitude of times as well with what was their recent run through Pro League in Split 2.
Okay. A little off topic, but I have to ask because we've gotten a good look at here this week. What are your thoughts on the Valkyrie heirloom?
Oh wow, you are a man of. See, these aren't the questions I was prepared for. Like, I sit here and I'm like, man, me good at Apex knowledge, me talk all day. Suzaku though, talking about that heirloom? Yeah, I know the name. Of course I know the name. And also Yeso, this mean man, he knows I am in fact a Valkyrie man.
I know you are. We'll talk about it more here in a little bit, but we are on board with Team Vizio. They've already got one knock there, and that's Flesh, as Sung using this triple take to great effect. Has that 3x on it. Certainly very effective on that marksman rifle. Meanwhile, Borton using the wingman here, trying to poke at range. Blitz actually with the bow check, able to get a nice knock there onto Green Doze. And Vizio playing very patiently here, despite getting a couple of knocks. They are not kind of biting off more than they could chew here in this early fight. Don't want to get collapsed on here. Blitz very happy to just poke from range, able to secure the KP. Well done here from Vizio.
So something that I want to point out with Vizio that I really love is the fact that they've taken what they learned from last night's Open and they've continued forward. Remember, it was going into, I believe, Game 3 in our lobby that they made the switch to put Sung on this Bloodhound to give them a source of identity to kind of spy out some of these teams, especially with that scan. And you can see already how that has heightened some of the aggression. I know we talked a little bit about the pacing, but I mean, they're putting their best foot forward, really looking to secure some of these early teams and net them a majority of their points. But for now, it looks like they are a bit pinched. Hopefully you can hold on to this building. This composition isn't particularly built for that.
Yeah, we'll have to see what kind of trouble they can deal with, as it is tap strafers on the outside. They've thrown down the black hole, and it has just kept Vizio cornered inside of that building. But ultimately, without tap strafers getting a knock, they don't seem confident enough to continue that push. They immediately back away. They're going to hit some heals, and Vizio able to weather the early storm there from tap strafers.
So it looks like Vizio should be relatively fine. There you can see tap strafers, distance, redeploy, held. Remember, there are still squads, of course, in this area. I'm more than interested to see how Vizio might tackle what could be potential future rotations. But it looks like for now, actually, no. They decide not to hold on to this building. They feel like it's a little too early. And I like this. This composition I don't feel is particularly built for retaining a position. And if they want to run edge, source out some KP, play this one a little bit slower, I think that would work out phenomenally.
Ooh, glory to the Reb here. That's Snoopy with the portal into the building and immediately has to back away as they get pushed. And they're just going to hold the high ground here on the south side of Epicenter. They're feeling pretty darn safe. One thing I do want to talk about with you here, Zephyr, is when I originally looked at the patch notes going into Season 13, of course, Valkyrie has been an absolute mainstay in the meta for months on end, and a lot of people have been asking for nerfs from her. And while I do agree with you, I was certainly someone that, on its face, saw those early Valkyrie changes as Snoopy really playing fast and loose there with the portal. We'll be able to get off this battery, as it looks like one player came back through the portal but immediately returns. But the point I was getting to was when I first saw that Valkyrie change, and the only nerf that she was going to see was, hey, you can't free spin on takeoff from your ultimate. And I saw that and I was like, wow, that really seems like nothing. But the more I've actually watched, it actually seems like it's a pretty healthy and significant nerf, because it not only makes the Valkyrie certainly more vulnerable in its ult, it actually makes all three players, because very specifically what you were able to do with the spin is distribute the damage that teams were trying to apply to your team, and now you can no longer do that. They can very deliberately select a player to focus, and most commonly the Valkyrie for the down, and it actually has shown that teams have to be much more conscious of when they're using that redeploy, and I think it is a nice change to Valkyrie that makes her certainly healthier. Not where she needs to be. She probably still needs some tuning to be brought in order with the rest of the roster, but it feels like a nice change.
I think I definitely see where you're getting at with this one, and the big thing that I think a lot of people miss when it comes to Valkyrie, especially where everyone's kind of asking for these nerfs right now, and it's the fact that the Valkyrie changes were paired alongside the Oob changes as well.
Yes.
Right? And a lot of people tend to forget the fact that there's such a major source of power being able to play Oob and utilize that to your advantage in a lot of situations that we, of course, between the two of us, saw multiple teams utilize, especially in high-end situations like this. And that in itself was a major nerf. So I understand why they have bided their time with the decision to potentially go a little bit deeper regarding those Valkyrie nerfs, because there are obviously subsequent ones that are affecting, just not directly.
Yeah, I feel like the next change that probably needs to be made is you just probably got to take the slow off of her tactical. That
Yeah.
seems like probably the
Slow or
most
stun,
healthy, and
one or
that
the other.
yeah, and it probably just puts her probably in the best spot in terms of like just being healthy and in line with kind of the rest of the roster. And it feels like a change that doesn't completely take her out of the meta because she still does a lot of great things. It just feels like that is just an extra thing in her kit that probably doesn't need to be there. But we'll get to talk about Valkyrie a lot through the rest of today as we take another look at the map here. And, of course, we are centering here around Fragment. A lot of teams have already collected in this area. You can see many teams already established in these buildings. Excedrin and Vizio already in the area. RCO has arrived as well. Exet still here, and Tyson of course, sit up here in Fragment West and just trying to poke with what they can here. A bubble down for Kimchi is an enemy. Gonna try and get some batteries off as they're detected by the sonar. And Cruisin' gonna take some poke. Man, everybody has been using the charge rifle lately. It seems to be a fan favorite from these players. As Excedrin's gonna go in. That's enemy with a very aggressive push by themselves and start a fight. Absolutely punish the top fragger here for Excedrin. And it seems like the rest of the team might be in trouble. SAF playing it slow, not
No, it's Vizio.
forcing it too quickly, but it's actually, Vizio has arrived on the scene as well, and they take out their top competition here in Series E, and that is Excedrin out in 17th place in this first game of the day.
I gotta say, if that's an answer towards our current race for Esports Arena, I mean, that's your best look here. And obviously, I know it's game one, but Vizio, I mean, it could not be more perfect for our narrative. More than confident there. Now, granted, there was a huge separation from Excedrin. We never really got to see the perfect 3v3 between these two squads, but hey, Vizio doesn't care. They just look to capitalize, and obviously, as a result, now they have complete control over this entire southern area beneath what I believe is one of the strong spots you can potentially be in right now, that beacon building that Start a Fight currently holds. So I will say I understand what Excedrin were trying to do. I saw the rotation, and Start a Fight did a great job of slowing this one down, but Vizio did an even better of reading the situation and capitalizing effectively.
Yeah, it just really felt like enemy kind of underestimated how many enemies were going to be outside.
Wow.
Steps outside with the tactical, tries to take the high ground, and but ultimately to throw out the black hole, gets knocked. And meanwhile, we're seeing a very clear example here as crossover goes down. Certified BMers very emphatically countering the redeploy there from the Valkyrie. That's another knock as Recover Banner is going to go down, and they're all headed for the top of the building. One kill secured and looking for more. They're going to try and chase this last player who appears to be a Wraith, running for the hills, trying to get to the safety of the circles. We jump over here to Razor inside of Fragment East. That's an ultimate from the Caustic here. Box OT getting into the area, has his ultimate available as well, so we'll see how he wants to utilize that. Razor, a team that has struggled early on, has had flashes of brilliance, but not the big complete performance they've been looking for. Meanwhile, Vizio caught between a rock and a hard place here. Sung is down. Now it's up to Blitz and Borton to make something of this play. They're actually able to take out Tap Strafers. They're going to be able to knock Sung inside, but it's not going to be enough here as Lazarus has arrived on the scene. Vizay getting in the door. They're going to take Sung out, and they're looking for more. Borton's already down, and it's just Blitz that remains.
Ooh, up on the top end there. Not sure what'll come out of this one. It's gotten a little bit too late in terms of a period for recovering, especially with Lazarus locking these buildings down, playing through with the Caustic. You begin to see the weakness of that Vizio comp when it is forced to make moves like this. Meanwhile, Messiah, though, this is Nerf coming through on the low ground. Pretty sure, though, so it's likely that we see kind of a gentleman's handshake here, especially with Turn settling up those barrels.
Yeah, Nerf arriving on the scene. Of course, important to mention, Blitz is still alive, but with where this circle is set up and the fact that these teams are not going to want to leave, there's no way those banners are going to get picked up as RCO arrives on the third floor. And this is the kind of chaos I love to see. You get 3 teams set up in 3 different floors of the same building. This is going to be very, very fun, as it seems that circle is kind of centralizing between Fragment East and West, and I love that. Personally, those late circles that end up around that bridge, I think, are very, very fun, very exciting to watch, and we'll see exactly where it ends up. But Turns is going to just continue to set up these traps, top off his armor here, and they'll be in a pretty good spot. They could certainly control space with this Caustic Gibby combo. They've got the standard meta composition that we've seen for months now, and it's certainly going to be very effective for this team, as there's some damage being traded upstairs, as it appears like maybe RCO is trying to apply some pressure onto the second floor. Meanwhile, Xset able to get a knock elsewhere on the map. Looks like Nerf maybe wants to get out of this building. They may think it's a little too crowded here, as Lazarus continue to hold the second floor.
Yeah, we both know that this is going to be a finish towards that bridge, so the extended rotations that need to come through, I'm happy to see Nerf, as you can spy out in the distance right now, making those moves while they have the early chance, because setup, especially going into that bridge, these finishes can be so nasty if you're not in the just perfect kind of high-end position. Now, granted, we know for a fact there are a lot of squads held out here on Fragment East. I typically tend to like Fragment West with this circle because it allows for more open opportunities for rotation, and most of the time it usually has less pressure going into rounds at least 3 and 4. It's only when you get to the final moments, you know, round 5 and 6, where things begin to collapse, that you see a lot of squads potentially punished out. Meanwhile, though, of course, we check in with Start a Fight. They've retained this building for quite a long time. What I'm most interested to see is, of course, what they will do when they're forced to potentially make their way a little bit more west, play the bridge directly.
It's interesting. It is a Wednesday night, but we are doing open night competition. But I would say the number of squads we have alive in this small of a play area, it feels like a pro night a little bit. We'll have to see how these teams can play it out, but, you know, we are not used to seeing 14 squads alive as Circle 4 is about to close on Tuesdays. So these teams very much playing patiently, trying to just get control of these buildings and recognize that they just want to survive as long as they can. The opportunities for the kills will come as this game continues, and that's going to be a redeploy here from Razor. They know they want to get control here of the bridge, but they're actually going to head over to this building. And Blake, who going to take a lot of damage, is going to just survive and get that bubble down. Boxa T going to set up as many of those traps as he can. Still has the ultimate available, so important to remember he can make it very stinky in this building very, very quickly. Aggressive Gibby bubble from the other team as Blood Vikings eliminated elsewhere on the map. Nades just trying to back away, as that Argstar gonna do a really rough job there onto the Razor squad as they're getting pushed by SAF. Nades up to the top floor, taking a lot of damage. Boxa T and Blake, who are down as well. Nades maybe soon to follow as the defensive bombardment comes down. Razor is out. That's SAF with the kills, and now Tyson challenging for position on the bridge.
On the other end of the bridge here, Tyson looking to make moves on their own. If they secure this upper end, this will be absolutely perfect, but they do drop Z Davis in the midst of their fight against Lazarus. You gotta be careful. We know for a fact there are a plethora of squads that like to play it a little bit slow, but it looks like even without the dome, Joey's gonna be able to stick this one out. With the collapse, of course, of this zone, several squads fall. Spectators, Spectre and Certified BMers on their fight in are out officially here. Glory to the Reg now in a fight of their own in the same area.
We knew that that number of squads alive was high for this point in the game, but we also knew it wasn't going to last here, as Snoopy and Glory to the Reb are in trouble. One down, and it's SAF on the hunt as Glory to the Reb goes down. Nerf has arrived in the building as well. How aggressively do they want to push here? They're going to step out of this enemy Gibby bubble and look for more. Messiah getting some damage here onto the second floor. Can easily chase to the high ground, as that player is going to get out of dodge momentarily, but Messiah smells blood and is looking for it. That's one knock there for the Valkyrie player as Turns comes up in support. Matt Pickett is down as well. Xset fighting elsewhere on the map as Nerf continues to posture aggressively to the east of the bridge.
And here's the thing, it's only left up to Rack, and I believe there he is on that low ground there. Nerf looking to finish the job after Start a Fight did so well to pull this building apart. Looks like that'll be it for Start a Fight. This is a separate squad indeed. Nerf now losing out on Messiah, will have to defend as to force their way inside this building. The drop is found there onto Holiday, and they'll find the full thirst to take this to a 2v2 situation. Can they find the revive onto Messiah? Well, it turns on the flat line like that. No, it's the ordinances that prevent it.
Oh, it's big trouble here. They're backed into a corner, and with Messiah and Force going down, Turns has to run for the hills. He's going to be able to get into the bridge for now. He's not in the circle quite yet. He's going to set down some traps behind him to make sure that it is a very tenuous push from anybody that tries to chase him. Meanwhile, we jump over to Tyson here, well established, central in the circle, trying to fight off Exet. They want this position, and Tyson is going to try to deny it for them. Of course, Z Davis on the Watson here is going to deny a lot of space and will set up a lot of safe areas here for Tyson. Let's see exactly what they can do. Important to note, they've got Fury subbing in here for Oxy. That's a hell of a player to have on your squad here in a late game. Fury, a very talented fragger that can bring a lot to a team. Let's see what Tyson can do here. Firing from the high ground. There goes Dutch. And Fury trying to add another one to his name here. Already 2 assists in this game.
I have to say, it's Tyson's game to lose at this point. You've got Exet and Intelligence both competing for the same area below, and it's very likely that Knee Reaper there will force some damage onto Exet, and we could potentially see Tyson ride through with the cleanup. Obviously, though, with these squads being as, well, as sparse as they are here, you have to wonder what will these little wrenches do as they potentially run amok. Notably, Turns, one of those who could potentially slide through and maybe make some havoc. Obviously, Intelligence on the outside here. I'm getting a notion that we might see Intelligence go for the climb and land and go down on top of Tyson. And while they may not win, that might be enough damage to potentially put them down and allow Exet to come out from the hold beneath.
We'll have to see. Just important context for everybody watching at home. 4 squads alive. Tyson and Exet, 2 full squads. Intelligence just with 2 as Z Davis up here on the high ground. This is actually a place on the map that he is very familiar with. Good. Is going to get the frag damage and the knock there on the Trap Lord. And Tyson is hungry for some blood here in the late game. Now they're looking for Exet. Exet says, hey, you've left the high ground. It's ours now, but they're going to run into some of the traps there from the Watson. Let's see what Joey can do here. Is going to be able to get the armor swap. Knee Reaper is down. Goodbye, Intelligence. Meanwhile, Turns biding his time, waiting on the bridge, looking to see if he can make an incredible play here in the late game. We'll see what he can do, but Tyson now needs to force Exet off of this high ground. Z Davis going to be able to get an armor swap. He'll hit the bat here, and Tyson still in a very strong position as here comes the defensive bombardment.
This is tough for Tyson. They've lost out on what was the complete control. You got Fury completely separate, playing out this high ground here, and we'll see if Exet are able to take advantage of this one. They find their nice rotation out with the utilization of that dome, but this angle from Fury is absolutely crucial here. Dome only going to be down in just a second, playing through the 50-50 on the bubble, and a perfect perspective from our man from ESA there. Tyson are winners of game 1.
What a performance here from Tyson. I did get a little nervous as it felt you were as well when they went for the aggressive push onto Intelligence, giving up the strong position they had atop the building. But they just executed so damn well, quickly, picking up those kills. It really didn't give Exet an opportunity to go for like a possible third party there, because that is maybe the choice you take as Exet. As soon as you see maybe one knock on each side, you're like, oh, this is free. We come in as the third party, we clean up the KP, and then we probably win the game. But Tyson just so perfectly executed on those kills that there was never an opening for Exet to make a play.